We got 18 past the hour. This is the Music Country Network, and this is Chuck Morgan visiting with Faron Young. Tell me about running around with Hank Williams Sr.
Well, Hank, of course, was like a god to me, really. This guy, just to be around him. But Ray Price and I, we would do anything for Hank, you know. And if I didn't agree with Hank on something, he'd call me Ray Price. He said, "Okay, Ray Price." And if Ray didn't do something he wanted to do, he'd call him Faron Young. And if we were just there, he'd call us boy. You know, if it was anything else, "Hey, boy, let's do this." I remember one time we were out having a few drinks, and he said, "Let's go down to Ernest Tubbs' record shop." So I got in front of that Cadillac and was driving it, and it had a little squeak in it. And I said, "This thing has got a squeak in it." He said, "Yeah, you'd like to have one that squeaked like this, wouldn't you, boy?" Because I had an old Ford I came up here in. We got out in Ernest Tubbs' record shop, and I said, "Where do you want me to park?" He said, "Pull right up there on the sidewalk." I said, "You can't." He said, "I said pull up on the sidewalk." And I did, because Hank Williams said, "You do it, you do it." The cops came up there and said, "Whose car?" I said, "Hank Williams." I said, "Okay, leave it there." This guy could do anything he wanted to, too, you know. He was the king. I believe if Hank was alive today, he'd still be the biggest thing in the business.
You think so?
I do. Because he was a trendsetter, even for his time. And I think people like Alabama and these guys, they'd still be wondering how come Hank Williams is so big.
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers and all, they'd still have to look up to him. I think he just had it in him.
Hey, Sheriff.
Yeah.
This is Merv Ross, the New Philadelphia hire.
Hi, Merv.
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Uncommonly tolerable. Whatever that means. I learned that from Hank Williams, too.
You're a pretty good fisherman, though.
The fish don't know that.
Brag a little bit about your fish.
I'm really not that good a fisherman. I can go fishing with somebody like Mel Tillis and them guys fishing out of the same boat can keep catching fish, you know, and I can't get them. And Tillis said, "Well, what you I've got to do, you're jerking the hook out of his mouth." I said, "Well, if he stutters like you, no wonder I can't catch him." I said, "I'm thinking fish are all stuttering. I can't get him to bite my hook, Tillis." But they catch fish when I'm sitting there beating my brains out trying to catch them.
But don't you hold some sort of record or something?
A record for not catching none. Because Billy Grammer and Porter Wagner, Jerry Reed, these guys are fishermen. But I really am. I can get a cork and a minnow and a pole and catch crappie. But you give me a rod and reel, I can't catch nothing.
You know, I have never liked to fish with a rod and reel. I like to get the worm and the cork and the pole and go out
Hank
there.
Williams and I used to go fishing, and we did the same thing. He wouldn't fish like that. We'd get a pole and cane and fish for crappie and perch. And if Hank caught a bass, he'd throw it back in. He wouldn't fool with no bass, and I didn't care, you know. He said, after all, we're up here to relax. You know, if a guy's paddling down the stream and fishing, and he's working himself to death, he ain't getting no relaxation.
You know, that's like with all these TV screens and depth finders you take with you now. That's for the birds.
They got it down to a science. See, but what I do, if I don't catch anything, I know I'm going to get part of what they caught anyway. Carry home and eat.
All right, Faron Young's with us. Live fast, love hard, die young, and leave a beautiful memory. That's quite a philosophy right there.
Can you believe that somebody would record something like that? I'll tell you.
We got 26 before the hour, and this is Chuck Morgan on the Music Country Network, and we're visiting with Faron Young. And Mr. Deaton wanted me to get you to tell a story about getting Johnny Cash on the Grand Ole Opry.
It's really not all that funny. I worked with John on a tour, and he was just getting started out, and Webb Pierce had seen him too. And like in 1956, we went up and talked to the powers to be at the Grand Ole Opry and told me had this boy named Johnny Cash I needed to put on there. He had Hey Porter, Hey Porter. And somebody said, "Well, he can't sing." And I said, "Well, I don't know if he can sing or not, but I'm going to tell you, he mesmerizes an audience. It's something he does to an audience that he just kills them for what he does." And I don't think John's a great singer. I love Johnny Cash before being a great singer, but and I don't think he thinks he is either. But we finally talked him into putting him on the Grand Ole Opry, and he encored 9 times out there. He tore them down, and all them guys were walking around shaking their head. They don't know how in the world he did it. But he still has something about him that sells him to people. It's the mystery thing about Johnny Cash.
I don't know what it is.
Magic. It's some charisma that this man has that I'll tell you, if you really get down to the points of it, Chuck, I think it's his sincerity. He's a heart. He's like a Hank Williams.
Well, where'd you, like, you know, I've had people call me, say they've seen you on the road. They very entertained by what you do on the stage. Where do you get that from? Where'd you learn how to do that?
I think you steal it from everybody, don't you? Because you learn to walk by watching somebody walk. If you was born in a nation that everybody crawled, you'd crawl. You'd never get up and walk on your 2 feet. I think you borrowed from everybody. People you work with, like Hank Williams. I borrowed things from Cash, Hank Snow. One of my greatest guys, I think, was great stage president, was Carl Smith. I learned a lot of stuff from Carl, especially how to read script and things. And you just develop into it. Because when I first started to sing country music, I sang just like Hank Williams. That's who I was trying to sing like. I wasn't kidding nobody. But then after listening to Marty but that's way before Marty. But after listening to George Morgan and Eddie Arnold and these guys, I developed a style where it was Faron Young. But believe me, son, when I first started, it was Hank Williams, and I made no bones about it.
First people ever to work with Charlie Pride.
Yeah, I carried Charlie on a tour down through Texas and Louisiana with me, and people didn't know he was black.
That was a little bit different, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it was, but they said, call Faron Young, he'll do anything. You know, it's like, give it to Chucky, he'll eat anything. And I carried him down there with me, and the people didn't know he was a black guy. They just knew he had snakes crawl at night out. And I'd say, and in the middle of my show, I'd put him on. He only had about 4 songs.
Did you explain anything?
I didn't tell a word to him. I said, here he is right now, Charlie Pride. And he go, yeah, 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 and it died, stopped. And so I told him, I said, when you get out here, just start singing. Don't say nothing. And sing your song. I think he opened with Jambalaya. Because they didn't have but 2 or 3 hits that he could sing, or 1 hit. And then I give him a line. I said, just tell him that you love country music and you're not a Black Panther. You like country music and you like America. I said, tell him that. And I said, that'll get him to laugh. And then he got thrown another line in there about, don't be alarmed by my permanent suntan. Now, they'd break the ice with the people, naturally, you know, because the world was changing then. They'd get to laughing at him. And by the time he did his 3rd or 4th song, well, they would be screaming their heads off at Charlie Pride, and he'd leave the stage. And then I had to contend with them. They said, we want Charlie back. So I told him the next night, I said, hey, you better come out there with about 20 minutes worth of music. He said, oh, fair, and I can't. I said, you're going to do something till they get tired of you. I ain't trying to follow you. So about the 4th day of this tour, I took him backstage with the band and taught him about 3 or 4 songs. I put him on before me, way up ahead of me there, and let him see all of it Charlie could do. Then I went on and did my show. But he was killing me. He got there and stole the show from you. I learned from him. Now, but you know, he's one of them guys that don't never forget. When Charlie got big, he called me up and carried me on his road shows with me.
Yeah.
He did the same thing Elvis did, because I used to carry Elvis out on road shows, and I'd check in a hotel. I'd go see if it had 2 beds. I'd give Elvis a high sign. He'd come stay with me so I wouldn't have to pay rent. And after Elvis got big, he called me up one time, called me the little sheriff. He said, little sheriff, said, I want to take you on this tour. What are you making? I'm making like $1,500 a day back then. He said, I'm going to give you $3,000. And I said, well, why would you do that? He said, because you helped me one time. Yeah. And Pride did the same thing. And, you know, you get to still have a lot of love for guys like this, and Pride's still the same way.